Hello and welcome to the second session of Eberron, the Glass Keys. This is being played in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. And this session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar, which is an online gaming club / community. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. It's worth checking it out because if you're watching this, know that we have hundreds of other videos of other sessions of indie and trad and OSR games on the Gauntlet YouTube site. And then on that webpage I mentioned, we have links to our podcast network, which we have multiple different podcasts and some ones that have wrapped up that have great actual plays and things. We've also got a blog. We've got resources for online play, everything there, and it's all free. You can support us on Patreon. But that's all there is resources, lots of online character keepers and sheets and things like that. So go and check it out. Just before we get going, if you hear me talking, we're playing with Roll20. So you may hear us referring to that. There may come a point that I remember to screen share, but that's probably not going to happen just because that's the way I get rolling into these things. But just know that that's what we're doing. We're using the roller from that. We have our character keepers. Our character sheets from that because the Roll20, the indie character sheets are quite nice. I do dig that. But we are also using a sheet, separate sort of keeper that has our NPCs and our NPC pictures, but also has our lines and veils. We are using a layered set of safety tools. We are using the open door policy, meaning people can leave and step away with no problem if they have to. We're using the X card, which we're doing by voice or by gesture to mark it out when we hit problematic material. And then as a kind of baseline, we have lines, veils, and ask first. So a reminder, here are our lines. We have hard lines on harm to young children, homophobia, sexual assault, torture by the PCs, transphobia, and twins. And then veils on harm to animals, sexual content. Those are our two sort of fade to black ones. And then, and I think this is always the thing to have, PC betrayal, turncodeness. This is a noir game. It's an ask first. We want to check in and make sure the table is cool with that before anything like that were to occur. So I'm going to go to our character sheets here and to have people introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with Carrie Three Blades. If that character and player could introduce themselves, give the pronouns for both themselves and a character, and then I'm going to work my way through.
Cool. Hi, I'm Joe, he, him. I am playing Carrie Three Blades, who's a she, her. So Carrie Three Blades is a irascible, I think that's a word.
I think that's
goblin bard who's performing more like a juggler, knife thrower sort of thing versus the traditional bard skills. She is an orphan who was raised in a traveling circus and has come to Sharn under left the circus or show under mysterious circumstances, which we will play to find out at some point what that may have been. And she is the self-styled big sister for Sojara Dabra.
Nice. Then let's actually step to Sojara. Sojara, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes. So I am Jim Crocker, use he, him pronouns. Probably north of 100 of those Gauntlet videos that Lowell mentioned on YouTube are games that I've run over the last several years. I've kind of had to take a little bit of hiatus over the last several months because of some family medical stuff, but very, very happy to be back playing again regularly and hopefully running some games and stuff. I've been playing D&D since the late 70s. And so this is really thrilling to be a player, to be playing, good old Dungeons and Dragons again. And Eberron is my favorite setting of of all the various official D&D settings, and that includes some of the classic ones. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm playing Sojara Dabra. I misspelled it on my screen, so I was looking at my own screen. I'm like, Sojara Darba. What? So I'm Sojara Dabra. She is a she/her, and she is a shifter. So she's got kind of a lycanthrope bloodline going back, and she can shift into a human mongoose hybrid, which makes her extremely fast, very quick to move. And it's cute that my little sister thinks of herself as the big sister. We both know that I'm really the big sister. So I'm a monk who has been trained in the way of the astral self by a kind of like monastery that has some like sort of a like a help street kids and help the poor in the in the disadvantaged neighborhoods of Sharn, and they are run by some Sarlonans, some Kalishtar are kind of in charge of that, and so we're gonna see what she can do with her extra arms that we got to see last time, which was really super cool. I haven't played one of these before, so
Excellent. And then Zad, whisper more.
Hi, yeah, I'm Chris, he, him. Zad Whispermore goes by he, him. He's a blue-gray half-orc. He's at 240 pounds. If it's okay for him to wield a wrench in lieu of the mace, I thought that would be a kind of a nice touch. So he's carrying like a little bit of a plumber's bag, maybe. He's a knowledge cleric born in the Dragon Mark House of Finding. Yes, a spanner. He's provided inquisitive services for a decade. I was going to age him up just a little bit from last time, if that was okay. And then my other thought when I was thinking about how to play a knowledge cleric was maybe part of the reason he was a fugitive from his own house, besides the fact that he thinks that somebody in his own house killed his mother and he escaped, is that he was sort of annoying. Like he was letting secrets out. Like he's the kind of person, because he's a knowledge cleric, he's really interested in freeing information. He's almost like a modern day hacker. So he's constantly looking at the team and trying to figure out like, oh wait, what did they do wrong? Why did they fail in that move? And then like making mental notes of it, and just, he's looking at everything as information and he wants it to be free. So if you guys are comfortable with that, I was trying to give a little bit of figure out how do I go from being a cleric, which can kind of feel like a support character, to like actually having a little bit more of an active tick. So that's the NPCs that I created for him, tied him a little bit more to the Zalargo embassy, which are the gnomes. And part of his backstory is that he, when he escaped from his house, I think it's called Thrashk, something like that.
Yeah.
When he escaped from that, he met up with some criminal tyrant changelings who helped him change his appearance. So he's a fugitive, and the other members of the party don't know that. And as far as they know, he's just been inquisitive for a while.
Excellent. And last but not least is Ratung.
Hi, my name is Tim. I use he, him pronouns. I'm playing Ratung, who also uses he, him pronouns. And yeah, Ratung is a wizard. He is a shifter. As his name suggests, he can shift into a rat-like form. This was very useful growing up on the streets of Sharn and needing to be resourceful and very cautious to really know a lot about his surroundings in order to survive. I think a wealthy landowner from Amder was visiting Sharn and crossed paths with this young Urshan Ratung and noted some magical talent, and kind of as a charity case arranged to have him admitted to the elite Arcane Academy of Arcanix, where Ratung did not last long before dropping out, stroke washing out, and finds himself back in Sharn with this other group of outcasts and misfits, and that's where we are.
I'm muted. I'm going to do that. So last time we had our group, we established the connections and relationships between them. And then we did kind of that first case, throwing us ourselves into the fight, which the group was successful in capturing the villain and dealing out justice to him. And so we ended last session with the group meeting with their patron, who is known alternately as the Widow, is also referred to as the Duchess by her servant there, the Warforged Flywheel. Sort of the thing about Flywheel is it's very clear that this is a Warforged who has been through a lot. They have a lot of clear replacement parts and worn down things and such, but they keep themselves very poised in that. The Widow, Eleonora Mendoza, is a Dragonborn, so she is from very far away. And while she's never explained herself or spoken of it or anything like that, the impression you have is that when things went bad back down in the homeland, that she may have not been on the winning side of whatever occurred, though she has not dwelt on that or even spoken, and doesn't allude to it. And you know that she was married to someone here in Sharn, but that's also who was that? How did she have this money? That's
presumably a duke, I guess.
Yes, a duke. But that's a question that is there. And while you probably have an office, and we've established that it's set up, I believe, over a kind of a bar inn, if I recall correctly, in another area, probably Dura Quarter. That seems most appropriate. You are here in North Edge, towards the upper part of North Edge, sort of that place that kind of falls between the middle and the upper part. This is where a lot of the most eccentric wealthy live. It is not the super highfalutin, but it is an area that is highly populated by elves. There's a lot of elvish and half elvish influence here throughout the area. And in particular, where you're at, there's a place called Oak Towers, which is kind of a dwarven spot, some other things. And then there's a Crystal Bridge, which is another area that definitely has a little more elvish influence. You're in a kind of an estate house meeting up with her, and she enjoys this. She enjoys being a patron to a group of inquisitives, and takes the time, like after the case has been finished and payment has been meted out to you, you are served dinner at a table with her. She sits at the head of the table. Food is brought out, and she's asked a few questions to kind of clarify some things. She doesn't necessarily want to know like the details of the fight, but she's kind of tracing back how you found this person and what you did there. Sajara, what is it about this meal that is like that tells you that some effort has been made to like tweak the food to your taste?
I've been served a vegan meal because the that's a tenet of my order, that we don't consume the flesh of other beings or any of their like anything they've produced through involuntary labor.
Okay, nice. Kiri, is wine served to you? Alcohol, ale? Are you a drinker?
Oh yeah, I think that has to be a yes. Yeah, I think she's drinking wine, and I think Kiri's table manners are surprisingly good for a goblin. I think maybe the Baron, I think of the sort of circus, liked to put on airs and things and kind of did that. But you will see throughout the meal that she's shoving little bits of food and things like in her pockets and stuff as well. So
fair enough. Lots of dinner rolls have vanished throughout the course of this sleight of hand. Zad, clear that maybe it's they're uncertain what your taste is to. So what do you think they've served as kind of a middle ground for you?
Oh yeah. No, they've given me plenty of meat. So
Okay.
a big old bone sticking out of they gave me a drumstick, and I'm drinking the wine or the beer. I'm just kind of so like Jeff Goldblum. Ooh, very interested.
Nice. And Ratung, what is dessert?
Yeah, I think it's what is it? Creme brulee. Is that the
Okay.
one that comes out like and it's like flaming and you blow it out?
That nice crisp thing on the top there, that shell that you have to
Yeah.
crack. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of a big production. I don't know if there's a vegan version of it that they could serve. Probably you can
Yeah.
have like vegan dairy substitutes. Why not? It's a magical world.
Yeah.
They would have at least as good of vegan substitutes as we have here in our world. So yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. You blow it out. I don't know. I think Ratung probably is like a little bit, I think he's very nervous, right? So they come out with like the flaming platter and he kind of scoots back and his nose kind of quivers as he sniffs the air for danger. And of course, everything is wonderful.
Flywheel is very careful to put it out in front of you so you see that it has been completely extinguished before he sets it there down for you, and then takes that long step back and sort of hangs in the shadows there. As you are finishing up the meal, the widow says, I need to ask you if the four of you are available at the moment for another case, something that came to my attention just yesterday, just last night. It's an odd story, but may I put it before you? One of the ways that I maintain my contacts, my presence is I am often invited as, how do I put this, an exotic guest to various parties around and about in the area. And I try to live up to that as best I can, to attend and put on my best airs as much as possible. I was at such a gathering last night. One of these sort of dinner party / salon kind of affairs, a little droll. There was a sort of a coming out for a child. I do not care for children. They're dirty and sticky. But in any case, as the evening was winding towards a close, I was approached by a Lord Murcross, fairly well-positioned, mid-tier elven noble here in Sharn. Generally, one of those people that it is suspiciously absent of gossip. Someone who carefully cultivates their image, keeps things quiet. I had not spoken to Lord Moorcross before this, but he was very polite, approached me and began to speak. And it became clear through the course of the conversation that he was aware of our, and she gestures to all of you, of our agency. And he asked me if I would be willing to take on a small case for him. Now, this immediately made me deeply and gravely suspicious. He is a man of some wealth. He can go to House Thrask. He can go to the Finders Guild. he could even, if he needed something, go to city officials. He has enough pull for that. But he did none of these things and instead came to me. And I made it clear that I was aware of this. And he also made it clear that this was something that perhaps he wanted kept somewhat discreet, somewhat more quiet, or at least outside of the eyes of those parties. He apparently has a consultant, a person that he has hired to do some jobs by the name of Bashalak, also known as Bosch. As I understand it, Bashalak is a mage hunter. Not necessarily a killer of mages, but a tracker. When mages don't want to be found or people with magical things want to hide out, Bashalak is a person who is somewhat in our profession as finders, but for that kind of person. Lord Murcross apparently had hired Bashalak for, as he put it, several tasks. He was not particularly forthcoming about what those tasks were, but he said that Bashalak has vanished and he would like to find Bashalak. And if anything has happened to Bashalak, find out who has caused something to happen to Bashalak. He gave me very little other information, but he did quote a handsome fee, which I think is more for the benefit of you than it is for me. But we will be passing that on. So I would like you to find this Bashalak. And if you were to maybe figure out exactly why this is so interesting to Lord Murcross, I would be very curious on that score as well. Do you think that's something that the four of you could do? Usual daily fee plus a front retainer for your efforts?
Kiri licks her lips and says, Lord Murcross, very handsome. Uptown. I think we're in.
Good. And
yeah, I mean, taking on work from people who didn't want to go to House Thrask. That's how I built my business. I mean, there's more of them than you think there are, Widow.
Good. I thought that would appeal to you. Sajara, Ratung, are you in?
Someone will need to keep Kiri safe.
Plus, he's hot.
He is a handsome elf, yes. And Ratung?
Yeah, I think Ratung just finishes, making his last note with his magical quill and says, I mean, you've got to have somebody who knows the city if you're going to do something like this.
Excellent. And essentially we'll kind of cut the meal there. And we're going to kind of fade out from that. And I'd like to talk NPCs. I'd like to talk about the NPCs that you have added or put on the table. Let's start with Sajara, because I see Sajara as an NPC first here in A2, so, or B2, I guess.
Yeah, I added 2 NPCs, and I also like that picture of that picture that I found of like that Warforged Butler was so cool. There was just like no way that couldn't be Flywheel.
Absolutely.
So I added that in there.
That's great.
So Noril Silkiss is the teenage crush of Sajara Dabra. He is a half elf who introduced her to the orphanage, kind of like took her in when she got drummed out when she fled the gang that she was a member of, the Cliffside Climbers.
Mhm.
And the two of them kind of grew up through their adolescence together, but then he had absolutely no interest in like learning how to fight. And, like I did, I joined the monastery to kind of be able to sort of channel my aggression and fear and get it under control and make it work for me. He was always much smarter and kind of had his head in the clouds. And so he became a reporter, and he is now a crime reporter for Justice Illuminated, which is if you've ever seen like the old illustrated police news,
Mhm.
stuff like that. It's like basically like comics of lurid crimes that happen throughout the city and stuff like that. And so he is a reporter for them, which means not only can he write, but he can like sketch and draw little comics and stuff too. So he's basically kind of my nerdy crime reporter crush, but we haven't seen each other in a while.
What's your current relation with them? Like right now?
Right now, right now, I see him like probably, I see him exactly twice a month. When he comes to the food pantry to volunteer.
Mhm.
And so basically it's kind of like we see each other at work, kind of doing that volunteer work where he is, like he just rolls his sleeves right up and gets in there and, ladles stew out to people and stuff, while I am kind of, walking around and doing security and making sure everything is working smoothly and that nobody's getting accosted or anything like that. And I kind of awkwardly say hello to him. He awkwardly asks me how I'm doing, and I say it's fine, and then he says he's fine, and then we go our separate ways.
The awkward looking into that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then who else have you added?
I've added Sinister Meg.
Ooh.
And Sinister Meg is the boss of the Cliffside Climbers. That's the gang that I escaped from. And she's a dwarf, and you can see she's got she does not have a left hand because she lost it during a disastrous heist at the widow's estate several years ago. Like she got it caught in a trap, like literally in a trap when she was trying to like filch something, and that trap set off an alarm which brought guards running, and like basically like her whole gang got either killed or captured, incarcerated, and she's the only one that escaped. And that's how she became the boss of the Cliffside Climbers gang. And so I have not seen her since I left, but I have heard rumors. I think we can say I've heard rumors that she's been asking around about me since she heard I'm now working for the widow. She's probably not too thrilled about that. So,
but you weren't in her gang at the time that she did the job on the widow.
No, this was
left.
like before. Exactly. Yeah. But before I joined the gang, and and it's one of those things where by the time I joined, there were like 24 different stories about what exactly happened that night, and and none of them, and like all conflicting and all that kind of stuff. And everybody in the gang was terrified of her and stuff. So
excellent. And then Kiri, who have you added?
Well, I've been delinquent. I haven't added anyone yet.
Okay.
But I have somebody that I took some notes on between last time. I just haven't added them. So
sure.
I was struggling a little bit with this because Kiri is very new in Sharn, relatively new in Sharn. So I just didn't know, but I thought it would be fun. So the person I'm going to add is, so our headquarters thing is like above a pub inn type thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's a waitress named Tinsel she has sort of this on again, off again, on again, off again flings with. And so that's who I'm going to add here as we play. And then I'll
Awesome.
think about it. I don't know. I don't know, given that she's relatively new, I don't want to just add NPCs that are like her crowd that she runs around
Mhm.
with. So I'm not sure how much she would know other, like some of these other things. I'll think about it. I'll
Yeah, think about that. Think about who else you'd want to throw in onto the table. Now, Jim, did you add those are the two that you added, right, Jim, or did I miss another one?
Nope, I
Okay.
added those two, and like I said, and I found the picture for Flywheel because I just love that. So.
I love that. I love that. Let's come to Zad. Zad, who have you added?
Yeah, these three here in the second row on the left. So the first one is Cassia Liverman Dahl. She's a gnome, goes by she, her. She is basically who Zad looks up to. Zad, jumped ship, changed religions literally as he washed up onto Sharn and saw her appearance as, basically inspiration that he should think more about Orion as his god rather than the Gashkala.
Mm-hmm.
She is a spy for the Zalargo embassy as well as being a legit cleric priestess. And Zad has done work for her. She basically helped him change his appearance. So she's sort of a frenemy, a little bit scary because she's relatively powerful and knows his true identity. And she took him to the next NPC, Ek, who's the head of the Tyrants gang, who goes by he, him. He's a changeling. I don't think anybody really knows what his real appearance looks like, but he goes by one specific appearance that people know him as, even if it's not his real one. He helped get Zad's face changed so that he looks like a different half orc. And I was assuming he may have, slowly been asking Zad for favors as the years went by.
Just a couple of small things.
Exactly.
We're friends. We're friends. Yeah.
Exactly. No leverage at all. And then Kava Velderon is the head of the Thrash's inquisitives firm. She's human. She goes by she, her. This mark of finding is for a house that has humans and half orcs. And Zad doesn't know how much she's got her feelers out for him. He feels pretty confident that he's been under the radar for a while, but that may be completely false confidence.
And what do you think, like, what does she know? What is her, like, expectation about you? If she was looking for you, if she knew anything about you, what do you think she's been told, or what do you think she expects?
Yeah, she thinks that she knows that Zad has a chip on his shoulder. He wants revenge for his mother's death and disappearance, and that he suspects that somebody at the house Thrash did it. Just a little bit of meta.
So she's aware that you have these suspicions.
Yeah, she's aware of that, and she, it's possible that there's even some, splinter group, because the half orcs and the house Thrash, some of them worship I think it's the demon down, the shadow down below. So it's possible that there's more of them than people realize. It's possible that she's even part of that. And he was starting to expose that he believed that was happening more. But what happened was then he washed up, changed his identity, and he hasn't been actively targeting them. He's been kind of trying to get other people to get information for him, like the changelings and the gnomes, to get information about the house Thrash.
Excellent. And then Ratung, who have you added?
I have added, sorry, struggling to unmute myself. I wasn't used to the screen share. So yeah, I've added a couple of people. So one is Dario Elderman. He is a wealthy landowner who arranged for Ratung's admission to Arcanix. So I'm thinking that they probably he was like corresponding with Ratung. He was kind of like, Ratung was like his little project, and then after Ratung left the academy, I think he hasn't heard from him. And maybe Ratung, I'm thinking it's something that Ratung regrets, like he kind of had this in with a powerful person and kind of blew it. The other NPC I added is Nugget. She is a childhood friend of Ratung. What I wrote for her is Nugget keeps her ear to the wall when it comes to the comings and goings of the flop houses, thieves' dens, and other establishments of ill repute in the mean streets of Sharn. So just kind of somebody who definitely just is aware of like the comings and goings of sort of the seedy part of the city or the underworld.
And what does she do now? Like if what is her role? Is she more of a street criminal or an informant or something else?
Honestly, I see her as both, right? I see her
Okay.
as just an opportunist.
Mhm.
So if the next score is selling some information, she'll do that. If it's picking a pocket, she'll do that. If it's running some sort of scam or racket, she would gladly be involved with that as well.
Excellent. And what do you think Dario's reaction would be if Dario found out that you had kind of dropped out despite his patronage and favor and come here back to Sharn? What does Ratung think his reaction would be?
I think Ratung thinks that Dario doesn't even think of him anymore.
Okay.
He's probably found some new much better and much more capable and more grateful person to help out and to kind of make his little passion project out of.
Excellent. All right, I think that gives us some NPCs to play with. I'm going to stop the share. And you may all take inspiration. Even Kiri Three Blades, since we have an NPC that you've given us, even if we don't have a picture yet. So you may all take that. Kiri, like when we get the next day, we do the montage, we check in with each character, where they're living, like getting up, getting themselves together. What do we see for that montage, that sequence for Kiri? Where does she crash? What does her living space look like?
So I'm thinking maybe she crashes at this inn because
Okay.
she also performs there occasionally, and that's how she does her thing. So I think if we're thinking in the morning, I had this idea in between that might just be stupid, but I guess you'll just have to live with it, maybe.
Okay.
But so I've been coming up with, every time we get together, Kiri's going to have a new little hobby that she's discovered. That's this whole thing. And so what you'll find her this time is she's sitting on the bar, chatting with everybody, and she's whittling. And she's like, did you know you can take the wood and you carve it and it becomes like a little thing, like, and it's amazing. And she's trying to whittle and do all this stuff while she's kind of eating some breakfast and just kind of chilling there. And so this is her new little thing that's grabbed her attention, is learning how to whittle. So
Is she good at these kinds of hobbies when she takes them on, or is she bad, or does it vary?
I think it varies. I think
Okay.
I think because it's a knife-based thing, she's not doing too bad with the whittling, but she keeps breaking it, and then she gets frustrated, and she's doing it again and stuff. But her attention span isn't great, so today it's whittling, and who knows what it may be tomorrow.
Absolutely. And one more question: what does she whittle? Like, what is she trying to shape?
I think maybe right now that's the problem, is
Okay.
that she's just digging in and she doesn't really know what she's doing, right? She saw somebody out in the market who was making little things, and she's like, whoa, what is that guy doing? And then now she's trying to do it, but she doesn't really have any thing. I think maybe she's trying to make something to impress Tinsel with.
Okay.
And right now it's just kind of, she's good with the knife, but maybe she doesn't have the thing in her head about what she wants to make, so it's frustrating her a little bit.
That kind of terrible advice of all you have to do is subtract everything that's not the elephant, and then you'll just have to have an elephant.
Yeah.
But you can't picture what you want. So Ratung, where do you crash? What kind of area, what kind of place, what kind of neighborhood, what do we see for you?
I think it's someplace low to the ground.
So we're on down on the lower levels.
I'm thinking, I mean, there must be some sort of like sewer system in Sharn, of course, right?
Oh, then you start going down into the depths. I assume that there's probably some within these blocks and things. There are probably some sanitation and those kinds of things. But for the big sewer things are probably down there on that lower city.
Yeah. I think maybe in kind of a little bit subterranean area, but not far down there. I'm sure there's a whole world, but someplace where it's a place where Ratung can feel that he has like his back against the wall. And
a gate of gold is a quote squalid slum in Lower Dura. That might be a place, or maybe even like Castellan, which is kind of just a step up from that.
Yeah, I think I'd go for like the lowest of the low.
Okay.
I'm imagining just a little hovel where he can have his back to the wall. Maybe it's like there's no window, right? It's just sort of the door to his own little den, and he can just watch that door. He has his table and his candle and a few books, and he can sit and read and write and watch the door. And sometimes you'll see his nose will quiver as he sniffs the air.
So this is very much a choice. Like you're getting a little bit of money, but you're choosing to have that sort of low end lifestyle.
So I think he just has no idea to do anything else, right?
Okay.
And maybe if he does get enough money, it's to buy like a rare book or something. And so you would just kind of see him sitting there and swatting at flies around his head, possibly real, possibly imaginary. And and there he is.
Awesome. Zad, where is it that you hang your head? Where do you crash?
Yeah, Zad is in a similar situation to Ratung. He's saving all of his cash to try to, at some point, find people who can help him, find out what happened to his mom. He started out in the Lower Dura, and when he showed up in Sharn, and made some really unsavory connections. And he also realized that's where he could get the best business. Like, it's those people who couldn't go to House Thrask, and maybe there was maybe it was kind of a loaded situation because they needed somebody found. So yeah, he's sitting in a place. I mean, I think maybe if it's okay with Tim, I mean, it's possible that he's actually starting to feel a little bit responsible for Ratung, because he feels like Ratung is in a worse situation than he is. And so he's moved close to him to kind of keep an eye on him. But when he's in his space, he has kind of the serial killer investigator type situation on all walls, papers on all the corners. It's not really as clean as it should be. And he's just trying to piece something together. He's always just 1 second. It's working on something.
Sketches and papers and lines and little drawings. Okay. I think that
trying trying to maybe cast spells in a different way than he did before. He doesn't see them as just like he's trying to speak to Orion in a different way. Like why, when he wraps that white cloth around him, is he able to, maybe have a connection? Like, does his connection feel stronger? Right. He's a little bit neurotically testing his limits all the time.
Excellent. It is probably a significant journey for you and Ratung when you want to head to see your patron. Probably easier to go up to that middle section of Dura, like for the bar, than it is to head up to actually consult. Sajara, where is it that you live?
I mean, I live in. I'm gonna use the word monastery because that's what that's in the monk kind of character class. That's what it's called, but it's essentially a temple, a Kalashtar, kind of like a dream temple. It's one of these things where there's like, you pass through a very modest door somewhere in a nondescript neighborhood in Sharn, and you go inside and it's much larger on the inside than it is on the outside kind of thing. And there's, marble floors shot through with glowing purple veins and stuff like this. And there are, small classes of students going through katas and things like that. And I just added to the character keeper, Master Levakri, Levakri. And she is the kind of headmistress of the of this particular temple.
Excellent.
And I've got a picture that I'll add for her. But the first thing I do whenever I return from a mission is report to her. I confirm with her that whatever I was supposed to get paid has been deposited in the funds of the temple. And when she confirms that, I return and I go and I do a little meditating to kind of and I have like a cell basically, like a small, like an 8x8 room or something like that with a like a little pallet there and and one of those pillows that's like an Asian pillow with that's not like a soft pillow but like a block that I put my head on and stuff like that. And and there's a place for and when I come back I strip out of the clothes that I wear when I'm walking around Sharn and I put on a like the uniform of a acolyte of the temple. And because I get to spend all my time out in the city kicking people in the head and having fun and going around and stuff, when I'm in the temple, I do chores.
Okay.
So, I immediately come in and they hand me a mop or a broom or whatever, and I get to it.
So do you think the temple is on sort of the outer ring of the middle city or more towards the inner ring of the lower city?
I think it's probably more towards the inner ring of the lower city.
Okay. All right. So like not the dregs, but certainly the lower bastion and the sort of the focus on charity and those kinds of things. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And like there are rumors amongst us acolytes that like if you go up to the upper floors, there are doors that lead to places that the geography of the place doesn't seem like they should lead to, but none of us has ever been lucky enough to actually either lucky enough to, be asked to go through one of those doors or bold enough to do it without asking.
Excellent. All right. That gives us a sense where our characters are at, kind of set up from last time. What I want to do is take our first break here. We'll take 10. We'll come back. We'll kind of bring our characters together to do a group scene, and then we'll kind of start to figure out about skills and heading off and doing once arounds on that. So take 10, and we'll be back. All right. So tell us what you have, Kiri.
Okay, so the first one is, and I'm working on popping them into the thing. The first one is Ormazi, and she is the leader of a little group of kids called the Pugs that are sort of little like street performers slash thieves slash whatever, and they're kind of hang out in the lower Dura, kind of down in the, not the super dregs in the but and so she sort of kind of mentors them, and kind of has a little bit of a soft spot for them because they kind of remind her of her when she was younger, and so she's always trying to help them out whenever they can. And this Ormazi is sort of their leader, but they're all pretty young, right? So younger than her, and she's not very old.
Right.
And that's why she's always taking all that food whenever they're at the widow's and at the inn. She's constantly taking all that food so she can take it to them to help them. So
Nice. And you said there's another one you're working on?
yeah, so I'm breaking my thing I said maybe. So I thought it might be kind of fun that this person's name is, I'll type it in here in a second,
Okay.
but Peregrine Espinoza, who is the Baron from the circus's son, who has followed her here because maybe she left him at the altar.
Ooh,
But that
interesting.
might not actually be the reason she had to leave. So it doesn't have to be the mysterious, really bad thing that she had to leave for. So
Okay, but definitely here and definitely hunting for you. Like that's the
Yes.
purpose for being here.
yes.
And what are they like?
I am so another performer. I think they are a little sort of cocksure, right? And doesn't, but I don't think it's a vicious reason why he's tracking her down. I truly think that he's smitten and really wants to know why you left. And
I think
so
that
what I still think we could maybe establish through the course of the play was, did she leave because she didn't want to marry him, or did something else happen that she had to leave? And you know what I mean? So maybe we could still
sure.
fiddle with that a little bit through play.
That seems perfect.
Thank you. I'm no longer guilty.
Okay, good. So she was supposed to marry the Baron's son.
Yes.
The circus owner. So we've done kind of a bit where we've seen each of you in your wake up spaces, getting yourselves together. And I think that then there's the cut back to Kiri, who we started with at the inn with the other three, Sajara, Ratung, and Zad, arriving and heading upstairs to your office. What is this like? Is it a second floor? Is it third floor? Is it just a room? Like what is the space that you have, Kiri?
So maybe it's like some of those old buildings have like that space way up at the top that is sort of attic like, right? And they didn't really use it for much, and because Curie performs occasionally for them, and the widows influenced the innkeeper, they let us use that space up there. And so I think it's got like I don't want to establish this all on my own, but so we can undo this if we want, but like I kind of got the vibe that it has all sorts of like hand-me-down stuff that we found, like furniture and stuff is all you know, and I think we all kind of have our own little spaces that
Okay.
kind of like represent our personality, right? A little bit. So
kind of a fourth floor walk up. We've got this kind of attic / garret kind of area up there. Easy access to roofs or to getting up onto the
Yeah.
other like upper parts of buildings. Because of course, in this city, there are roofs, but they're more like a level to get up to another higher thing or to another bridge or another street or so on. So it's all very so Jara, what has the group done to make this look presentable for potential clients or people or guests? Have you done anything?
Um, you know, I think like it is a kind of, it's a sort of like miniature, cheaper version of kind of what the widow has. So
Okay.
she's got like a front sitting room where she like, you know, meets with people and stuff like that. And so, so I think that we have like all of our areas are like, it's a big open space, but we've put up like curtains, right, to
Okay.
cordon off, so we have a little bit of privacy, and those can be pulled back if we don't need it. But like we hauled one of the tables from the inn upstairs, and put down a rug, and so there's like a table, a rug, and like four chairs there, so that like if we have company or, you know, and also like that's a place where if we want to just like sit together and plan, lay a map out on the table or something like that. But so Jara is so used to keeping things clean that I think Sajara has taken upon herself to make sure that that area is regularly swept, that the table is clean, that any trash is removed, all that kind of stuff. Because like that sort of like discipline and cleanliness is just kind of second nature to her. So she just sort of does it.
Perfect. And Ratung, you came up here when you were first set up here. You had to kind of straighten things out, find stuff. What was the thing that you found up here that like most interested you, most excited you, was to your liking? And you're not a pack rat, no offense intended to the shifters, but what kind of thing? I mean, you like words and books and stuff. Is it something like that or something else?
I actually think that I found like this old like cast iron teapot up here. And I think that like the one thing that I do to contribute to like the sort of the general air of coziness and cleanliness and hospitality of the little office is that I always sort of will have brewed a fresh pot of this kind of spiced black tea, maybe like a chai.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things that I splurge on are these, you know, these little sugar cubes that I bring into the office, and people can drop a sugar cube into their tea.
I think tea is really important here because it's kind of a bellwether for how tight rationing and supply and things are. Like when tea gets more expensive, when tea allowances get cut, you know that things are tight. And I would say that right now that you can tell that the things are tight. You have to hustle a bit to get the tea that you want. You know that the city is still having some real pains in terms of getting supplies and things. And Zad, what have you done to personalize this area for yourself?
Yeah, Zad is unusually large compared to everybody else, and this has a tall ceiling. So he also is able to reach up high, and there is some kind of bookshelf or or armoire, and as he observes the team and takes notes, not as many notes as Ratung, but to try to improve on our performance and think about lessons learned, he's slowly added to this filing system it's up really high. People may not even be aware of it or be able to reach it, but
Mhm.
he's not hiding it from them. He's just so big. He's like, oh, this is a convenient space. And he keeps it up there. Beyond that, I was picturing that there's to the question of how do we make this accessible? How do we make this something that we can use in a client situation along with the big table?
Uh-huh.
I was picturing there being just a big desk that all of the shared information is in, because we have 4 different areas, and whoever's going to be sitting on one side of the desk, they kind of adopt the pose of being the person who's taking in the new business, and the client sits on the other side. So I was picturing that there was at least some little area where you could sit and have a conversation with a client across the desk.
And certainly I expect that you have lots of little cases that you've taken on, the widow's events, the big stuff, the little cases, you're on your own, can pocket the fees for those and so on. But I imagine a lot of it is judging from all of you, there's quite a bit of charity work that is done, of finding somebody in exchange for a bag of potatoes, and that kind of work. But we see the 4 of you here the next day. You've gotten the word about this job from Lord Murcross, and so it's the 4 of you gathered to maybe talk about what you want to do for approaches and so on. And this is where it comes to, let me talk a bit, and I think I may have mentioned this last time, but I want to kind of go over it again. This is very free form. We will adapt the skills that you have, figure out how to approach things, or maybe a couple of different ways to do it. We do kind of margin of success for the amount of information that you can get on things. Usually what we do is do kind of plan it, then we kind of do it once around. The other thing being, I think I said this before, but I'll remind you, if a person in a scene gets information, when we get to the next person, we assume that information has been passed, unless somebody is like keeping it close to their chest. So we come to the 4 of you there. Tea has been put out. It's early days. You've got I believe, like, Ratung, you took notes, so I assume there's like your pages out on the table with the things. And now, is it actual physical paper that we see, or is it something magical? Like, where are your notes at?
Yeah, so the paper itself is just regular paper, and it's just scraps of paper that he just sort of randomly pulls out and writes on and shoves back into his pockets as he goes. The ink, though, is what's magical. So
Okay.
there's this sort of Ratung just will kind of like flick his wrist, and this quill will just kind of materialize in his hand. It just kind of looks like it's made of shimmering light, and every time he does it, it's some other different random color, and that's what color the ink is. And so these notes are just full of just scrawl in the margins, and just like 8 different colors on one sheet. But it seems to make sense to Ratung, and he can lay it out in a way that people can follow along with what he wrote.
So you're meeting together to maybe talk about approaches to things. Akiri, what are you saying to the group? We're going to kind of like open up this conversation here.
So I think while Kiri thinks she might be sitting back, she likes to juggle her knives while she's thinking, kind of absentmindedly, and she's like, well, we could just go talk to what's his name, Lord
Murcross.
And get some more information, and hang and see him, right up close, right, that would be fun.
Didn't he go to the widow because he wanted to remain discreet?
That's what she told us. But Kiri, perhaps there's a way that you could not accost him in public.
Well, maybe we could find out where the good Lord likes to take his drink, and maybe he's certainly not good. Sorry, I'm backing out of that one. Because I don't know if he knows. I'm thinking out of character. I don't know if he knows anything. Do we have any leads from him whatsoever, other than just the person disappeared?
You know that he had been employing this Bashalak, who is a mage hunter or pursuer of magical things, a magical skip tracer in some ways, that he wanted him to be kept discreet, and that Bashalak has been out of pocket for a few days now.
If this Bashalak does indeed offer his services to nobles such as the Lord, perhaps he has a similar and I make a like our place. Perhaps he has a similar office, a place where he does business. Finding who it was that he was hunting would be a good first step in finding him.
Yeah, and he's also got to go to sleep somewhere. I mean, do we know anything about? Trying to think if has he got anything unique about him? Do we have any description of him, or know his race or where he lives? None of that, do we?
I think you basically know, like, probably have gotten the information about where his office would be located, like his equivalent to this. You got the vaguest kind of description of him, but beyond that, you kind of need to do the footwork.
He's also gonna, Zad, just a little bit character quirk for a second. He's also going to be looking at Retong's notes, and I have a theory about the colors. You should think about the mood that you're in when you're writing those notes. Sorry, it's irrelevant. And he goes back to the. So he's gonna shut up.
Yeah, I'll just give you this look like you're brilliant. Like, I'm gonna definitely do that.
Let's go. Let's find out where he works. Definitely. I mean, if we can figure out if he's married and where he sleeps, that'd be great. I can also ask people who I know. Mage Hunter, I'm trying to think. Have you guys ever? I mean, a little bit out of character. Does mage refer to just wizard, or is it a specific thing that
Mage
we would
Hunter,
know?
yeah, is a term that's kind of thrown around for people who like investigate wizards, track wizards, track magical things down. It's like saying somebody's a gumshoe, but with mages.
Sounds like a horrible sort.
Is there any reason to think he maybe worked for one of the houses, or do we not know?
Not sure. That's
Okay.
something you'd have to find out.
We have very little information at this time.
Yes, Jara, you're right. Let's go to where he works.
So why don't we do this as a kind of a once around, hitting the streets with your skills, rolling and letting you ask questions, and then maybe that'll direct us to a scene like from that. We'll kind of abstract it a little, and then we'll maybe zoom in on that. Does that sound cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then let's start with Sajara. Sajara, what is it that you do? Like, how do you proceed for this kind of thing?
I'm trying to find this guy, and it sounds like he may have contact with some of the seedier elements of society and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I normally wouldn't, unless it were absolutely essential, as it is for this job. But I feel like perhaps Perhaps Norrell might have some information on him.
Okay. So you're gonna.
Of course, I
hit
never
your-
would. I never would otherwise bother Norrell, but it's essential to this job.
Absolutely. So does that feel like a persuasion rather than an investigation, or do you think we're still using investigation?
Like I think I'm
Lean into your strengths. Don't worry
so
about that.
what it would be is I mean, my strength is insight, is determining like whether kind of how, like whether people are telling the truth or what their, the veracity of their claims and stuff like this.
Sure.
So, so, and let me just step out for a moment.
Yeah.
If it's like too much to be just like dragging that NPC in right from the jump, I
think
don't
that's perfect.
fantastic.
And we may
cool,
come
yes,
back
yeah.
to that
Yeah.
scene on that, but
Okay.
so yeah, let's use insight. And again, I do want to encourage you to use your strengths. We're going to be very generous about this unless we're in a very specific situation.
Yeah.
So Jara, why don't you go ahead and roll insight?
Okay, and let me get to Roll20 here. Figuring out which. That's a 10. It's a
That's a
terrible
10.
rolls of 4.
So what is it like? What is it that what's the most like basic info that you want to know? What do you want to get here?
I just like literally just like the address of his office if he's got
Okay.
one, like
So-
where to go next.
You will end up talking with Norrell, and Norrell was like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy. He's his office is located in Dura, middle range. I mean, he's not that far away from your offices. He's got a reputation of being willing to how do I put this?
Put it directly. You know that when you attempt metaphors and similes with me, it goes over my head. You must tell me exactly what you mean.
The things that I have heard have indicated to me that he may not have the strongest set of ethics.
He's a criminal.
No, I don't mean that. I mean that
He's a liar.
I mean that he may bend the rules or go to extremes that people hire him for cases that may require people to go outside the bounds.
He's a thug.
Thug implies murdering people. Just know that if you're following this guy definitely runs with a seedier element.
Of course he does. We would not be. Thank you. The address is what I needed. I do not wish to interrupt your job any further.
Okay.
Very well. Yes.
And and your separate ways. Zad, what is your approach on the kind of the once around sort of fact finding thing, this first sort of step?
Well, the first thing he wants to do now that he has this information that this person is not very ethical, and the hair has been standing up in the back of his neck based on kind of the way the widow was talking. He wants to meditate and try to anticipate whether we are going to be safe or whether we're going to run it. And that's my way of saying I was thinking about doing an augury spell.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. What is the text on that spell?
By casting gem inlaid sticks, rolling dragon bones, laying out ornate cards, or employing some other divining tool, you receive an omen from an otherworldly entity, the Orion god, about the results of a specific course of action you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. The DM chooses from the following possible omens: wheel for good results, woe for bad results, wheel and woe for both good and bad results, or nothing for results that aren't especially good or bad. The spell doesn't take into account any possible circumstances that might change the outcome, such as casting of additional spells.
So what is the thing that you plan on doing in the next 30 minutes that you want to know about?
Yeah. So what I'm wondering is if we discover Bashalak or discover his remains, if it, are we going to need to, are we going to get into combat? Are we going to need to protect ourselves and be ready? Or is this going to be,
So
a fact
you're
finding
more, so I think what you're more, if I may kind of narrow this in terms of what's
Please, yeah.
practical in the next 30 minutes is if we go to Bashalak's
Thank you,
office,
that's what I'm trying to say. Yes.
are we going to face some hostile forces? And there's no role for that, right? It's just a,
I don't think that there is a role. Right.
what is your technique for divination?
Yeah, so he is a half orc from the Shadow Marches who learned from Gashkala. So, and now he's trying to take the tools that he had and that he learned, and he thinks that Orion will speak to him. So he's using what are homemade sticks that have had dragon shards shoved into them.
Okay.
Kind of to the extent that there's two of them, and they're hexagonal shapes, so they kind of look like 5-sided dice, and he rolls them, and if it's a high number, he feels that he gets, he will be safe, and if it's a low number, there'll be danger.
And maybe the two sticks where they land, we've got some meaning on that, like the crossing and the numbers and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that you will definitively get essentially the one of the sticks shows woe and one of the sticks shows wheel. Like there's definitely some some opposition potential there, but also good resources available. Like it's a fruitful place. Does that seem like a fair answer?
Yeah, totally. So Zad has been kind of telling everybody, just give me a little time to do this. And then finally he pops out and says, okay, guys, just be on your guard, but we're on the right track.
Perfect. Ratung, what is it that you do to investigate, to find out things? What is it you want to do, and what do you want to know?
I think I might want to go talk to my friend Nugget.
Okay.
And see, has she heard any chatter about either somebody going into hiding, or somebody's done like a hit job on this guy, just anything in her kind of like underworld dealings. What has she come across, I guess?
Sure. Let's have you roll. What do you feel like? Is that persuasion to kind of get that out of her, or is it investigation?
No, I think it's persuasion. I think she's a bit of a mercurial person, and I think it just depends on, even if she does know, and we are friends, but it kind of depends on my approach and me catching her at the right time and in the right way for her to really be as helpful as she might be.
I think that's fair. Let's have you make that roll.
Okay.
So
any chance that I had advantage on that?
No. So on 11, she will say, you're not the first person to, like, I've heard in the grapevine some other people asking about Bosch, about Bashalak. There were some people asking around. I know there was a city finder, one of the, which kind of does that spit on the ground, one of the guard folk by the name of Lieutenant Kintefa, who was prowling around the district asking after Bashalak. And I've heard that there were some others. So you may not be the only people who are hunting for this mage hunter. Does that help you?
Lieutenant Kintafa, eh?
Yes.
Brave man crawling
House-
around these parts with a guard uniform on.
I think the fact that he is tells you something about his skill, but also that he has jackbooted thugs with him.
Of course, they always do.
Be careful when the city watch and the guards are looking for somebody. That's never good.
That's true. And you would know.
Having been there a few times, yes, I would know. Kiri, what are you up to?
Okay, so I think, she Kiri took all that food. She was shortly after the being at the widow, she took all that food. She hooked up with the pugs, and she's asking them if they know, what they might know, and could you guys scuttle around and see what you can find out about this dude, Bosch. But be careful. I mean, he was not a very nice guy, but see if you can find out, dig up something for me. And I got all these buns and stuff for you. Here you go.
We got that. We can do, so kind of Baker Street irregular kind of sending him out.
Yeah. I guess it is.
Does that feel like
Yeah.
persuasion to convince him, or are you using them kind of as a tool of your investigation? What do you want to, how do you want to read that?
That's an interesting one, because I'm not sure. I could go either way. I could be fine with persuasion.
Lean into your strengths. Which one is stronger for you?
Yeah, I think it's persuasion.
Okay, then let's have you roll that.
All right. Did they change this character sheet screen again since we started? It
I
feels
don't
different.
know.
All right, here we go. I think I'm hitting persuasion here.
So
Go.
they will catch you the next day, and they will say, so this Bosch hasn't been seen in a few days, I know, and there's some people looking around for him, but we kind of traced it back. Before he went missing, he had met with a couple of times and had paid some money to a city archivist by the name of Senelas. Senelas works with city historical records, but also has access to various documents and things like that. He is known for being willing to slip information for the right price. From what we heard, Bosch met with him several times. So that that must have been what he was involved in before he went missing. Is that helpful?
Oh, dudes, really good job. And she's gonna flip him a hand, several like coins or whatever, and then now show me that new gig you've been working on. I want to see that, so before they leave, before she leaves. So
that they'll show you that they've worked on a few things I think for them they've got some theatrical things, but I imagine that a number of them are to draw the eye while another person comes up behind their I don't want to say mark, but mark. So let's assume that the information is shared around the group. Does it feel like we kind of cut to you arriving at the offices for Bosch? Does that feel like a fair hard cut? So when the four of you together, it's a busy neighborhood. Bosch has one of those second floor walk-up offices. Like you are cautious. So how do you approach this? Sajara, the group is together. Like, how is this organized? Are you just charging in? Are you casing the joint? Are you hitting up the people in the street? What do you think?
I mean, is it like a public, is it like an office? I mean, is it like a thing where you go up and knock on his door or what?
Yeah, it looks like the downstairs is like a grocer.
Mhm.
There's a walk up to the second floor where there are probably a couple of rooms. He has his office there. It's a back and forth street kind of thing.
I mean, as far as Sajar is concerned, we just walk up and knock on the door.
Okay. Let's do this. I need to check something here. What is everybody's passive perception, passive wisdom? Kiri, what is your passive wisdom? We're going to get that on record here.
12.
And Sajara?
It's also 12.
12. And Zad?
13 plus 1d4 because of a dragon mark proficiency.
That's right. And Ratung?
11.
Okay. So let's do this. Just a moment. Okay. And then we're going to do that. So I think as the four of you kind of are approaching, heading up, you will notice parked across the street, trying to fly casual, are a couple of Sharn City Watch. They are parked out there since they have an eye line on the entryway going up to the front way to where Bosch's office is. So you will notice that before you all get too close. How do you want to play that? Anyone have an approach you want to take? Do you want to still head in, or do you want to split up, or do you want to take another approach? What do you think, Kiri?
So I think Kiri, we see him and nudges and kind of eyeballs them. I think Kiri, like, I could take care of these two, so you guys can get in. And before anybody even answers, I think she'll just trot right over to them, and she's got her little like thing. She's kind of doing her juggling thing, and she's like, "Hello, boys," and what's up? And she pulls a little flask out. She's like, "Wow, it is kind of hot out today. You guys want a drink?" And she's just jabbering away, kind of doing her thing, trying to distract them, so these guys can kind of just get in maybe without being noticed. So.
Perfect. So I think unless you're using some other magical technique, this feels like deception, maybe, or
Yeah,
something
I was
else.
actually I was well, maybe could I lean into performance because
Yeah,
she's kind of entertaining
absolutely.
them a
That
little
is your
bit.
strength. Yeah.
All right, so I will give that a shot.
Oh yeah. They've been sitting there clearly for a while. So any kind of wariness they have is probably worn down. You come up, they take a swig. They don't care. These are Sharn city guards. They are there for a ready bribe or an easy offer of a drink. And so the three of you will see Kiri catch the attention of these guards, and the three of you can slip in without being spotted. Does that sound cool?
I think once Kiri sees them slip in, she's going to whip out her little thing. It's like, have you guys ever heard of whittling? It is the most amazing thing. And she's just...
Absolutely. So you all will get upstairs to the that second floor, and you'll on the door, and you'll hear a voice, distinctly female, say, "Go away, not open."
Is there a way to peer in through a crack so I can see this person?
Kind of see there is this woman, looks human, and you can see that she is moving around this office like trying to clean up.
I'm going to trying to think of the one word command that I can give her to open the door. If anybody has a one word, I mean, I could use the word open. I'm not sure that will necessarily work.
I think your intent is if you're going to burn your spell slot for it, then I will certainly in this non-combat situation allow that to work. When this happens, what does that look like, and what is like? How do we know that someone has been affected by it, and what do they perceive?
Yeah. So Zad goes like this, and he's
Bless you.
he's got did I look like, oh, that was somebody else sneezing? I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
sorry.
I was looking at if there is an actual physical component to the spell that's in there. So he goes like that, and he's got one eye where he's peeking, and the person on the other side basically feels as if somebody has taken them by the kind of by the shoulder like a friend, and just firmly guided them towards the door with their hand open, and they sort of feel half asleep while it's happening.
So
yeah,
and we won't bother for any kind of resistance roll, like that. I there'll be that moment where she turns, staggers over to the door, opens it up, and looks, and she says, let us establish that the phrase "merv" is a particular curse of some potency here in Sharn. Merv, you Mervin, kind of sees the three of you. This woman she steps back. You can see that she has some bruises on her face. She has a black eye, and she looks a little disheveled. Sajara.
Forgive me, I say, forgive my friend. He was not aware that you, what's our mage hunter's name? It is
Bosch.
Bosch. Forgive my friend. Do you work for Bosch?
She takes a step back. Maybe. Who's asking?
Well, we are here to see Bosch. We wish to contact him in regards to a job that he is on.
Bosch has not been here in 3 days.
And are you employed by him? Are you employing him?
I am Bosch's assistant.
Then we have common cause. We have been hired by our patron to help find him.
Who's your patron?
The widow. No, I would give her a formal name, the Countess. Countess, player can't remember names. The Duchess Eleonora Mendoza.
Why is she looking for Bosch?
That is not information we're privy to. We are merely performing this job on her behalf.
Well, she looks at you and Zad and Ratung, and she says, "You're not the first people who have been looking for him, and I wish I knew where he was. I've gotten tossed twice already with other people hunting for him."
Intriguing.
Who was looking for it?
There was some city guard type. I didn't catch his name. Who came up. It didn't. He was pretty much just all demands and grabbing things and looking around. And then last night, as I was leaving, one of the bosses in the area, Patron Zakis, a couple of his people came and indicated that the Patron wanted to know where Bosch was. And I told him the same thing I'll tell you. Bosch had been running around for the last couple of weeks, talking to different people, checking on things. And then 3 days ago, he cleared out the petty cash, took his equipment, and I haven't heard from him since then. Ratung, we haven't heard from you in this scene. What are you doing? What are you asking? How are you approaching things here?
Yeah, I think I'll just ask her. So you and Bosch, you worked closely together.
That is not a thing that I said. What I said was, I work for Bosch. I keep this place clean. I used to arrange for clients. I used to sit on things, but the last month and a half, and she'll identify herself as Seer. Last month and a half, he's been on some kind of retainer, some kind of thing. He's told me to turn away other clients. He actually had me go and cancel out a bunch of things that he was working on. Whatever he was on, it was something big.
This city watchman, was it Lieutenant Kentefa, perchance? Does that name ring a bell?
That might have been what one of his goons called him.
Yeah, Goons is right. This Lieutenant Kentefa, I can tell you, he's a real bad sort. A real bash you over the head with a mace and ask questions later kind of a guy.
You've just described every guardsman in Sharn by my experience.
Indeed I have, yes. Mine too. I just can't impress upon you enough how much you do not want Bosch to have this lieutenant be the first to find him. If there is anything you can tell us.
Let's have you roll persuasion.
Can I assist by trying to give her medicine sorry, I can wait if you want.
Oh, no, I like that. I like that. Let's say just as a passive thing, you're going to
Yeah.
assist like a little bit of magic to heal the bruises. Sure. Ratung,
Or my healing roll, or I can just actually give him a guidance. I could play it a number of different ways. But,
yeah. No, what do you think? What is it you're doing that is giving Ratung the advantage?
So yeah, why don't I actually give him guidance, which gives him a D4 when he rolls. So I'm basically just behind him, whether he realizes it or not. Just behind him, just and I'm whispering, remember when you do this. I'm giving him some instruction. This is what you need to do.
So guidance, does it give advantage in a D4 or is it just a D4?
It's just a D4.
Okay.
You've got inspiration, Ratung, I think.
All right. Well, so the inspiration is basically just a re-roll, right? If you
No,
Is that the way that
inspiration,
works?
if you spend it, you get to roll with advantage.
great, I'm gonna just go ahead and spend it.
Okay. And so you get to roll with advantage and you get a D4 added
right.
onto these rolls.
Okay, let's see what I can do. Okay, 19, and then whatever the D4 is. Do you want me to roll the D4?
Yeah.
Or I thought, okay, I didn't know if he wanted to, but okay, so 20.
I don't know exactly what was going on, but I know that he was doing some like looking for somebody. And then was doing some like talking recently in the last week or so, some like research on something. And she'll go over and she'll kind of pull out from underneath one of the desks this piece of paper with a sketch on it, and she'll kind of pass it over to you. She says, and you can tell that it's a dragon mark. And you can tell that it's an aberrant dragon mark because it's not one of the ones from the houses. And so that makes it an aberrant dragon mark. And, you know, all aberrant dragon marks are unique. And she goes, so he had this sketch. He was looking for the person who had this dragon mark. And my impression was, and I don't know the full details on it, that this person was like on some kind of expedition or delve or something, like in the city. But that's all I got. Bosch wasn't forthcoming about it. Does that help?
I believe it does. Yeah, I believe that we may know where to look for him next. And you've done the right thing by telling us what you know. And this is a delicate situation, and as I said, we wouldn't want Bosch to fall into a less fortunate fate than that which we could provide.
The other thing you might do is you might ask around, like find out who Bosch's sources were. He kept those pretty close to his chest. He didn't tell me, but they might find out about who he's talking to on the street to get info.
Does the name Senelas, is that a name that you heard?
Yeah. Kind of looks, finds the paper. She says, yeah, I've got a receipt here, like for like a lunch with him.
Oh, do you? May I have a look?
Yeah. It's a little tavern, little receipt there.
Yeah, I'll grab the receipt and I'll
clearly
make a copy of
intended
it in my
to
scroll.
require to present to his employer to get refunded for expenses.
All right.
And she'll say, was there anything else?
I think
Then you
that's
should
all I
go
have.
because I got to clean this place up and then lock it up. If he's not back, I've got to go and figure out what I'm doing.
You seem capable. You have arranged for jobs for him. You have found clients for him.
Yeah.
If he does not return, you should. And I like, kind of reach into like whatever little fold of my robe and like with a little snap, like a little noise. I pull out one of the Duchess's calling cards and I just kind of lay it on the table.
Fancy vellum.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah.
She
and
picks it up. It's like the nicest thing in the office at this moment.
Yeah, but it's that thing where I lay it down on the desk and like 2 fingers, I like slide it across to her, and I say, the Duchess has been known to employ those capable in the way that you are capable.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And she will see you out. Carrie, when they emerge out, like where are you at in your banter / whittling / distraction?
Yeah, so she's just chattering away and she's been whittling this stuff. And as soon as she sees them kind of come out, she takes the thing and she's like, she looks at them, she looks at the dude's like, she tosses it at one of them and it's just this kind of weird lump thing. And she's like, it's a horse. And she tosses it to him and she pats him on each shoulder. She's like, see you later, boys. And she toodles on off.
I don't think this is a horse. Maybe it's a centaur. I don't know.
Use your imagination.
Let's take our second break. Let's take 5. And then we'll come back and do the next round of investigation. So we assume we see the 4 of you regrouped, a few blocks away at a bar, tavern, whatnot, to chat over the info you've uncovered and decide whether you want to head to a specific place now or you want to divide up and take another run at different things. So Carrie, you weren't as active in that scene, so let's come in with you. What are you saying to the group? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think we should go see this archivist guy. All the words on the street says his palm is easily greased, right? I think we won't have just a few coins and he'll spill the beans. That's probably the best thing. We could figure out what Bosch found out, and it might lead us to our next to where we need to go.
Zad, what do you think?
Yeah, I would love to go meet with this archivist. There's a couple things that I know about the city already, but I mean, if you could all talk to him and I could maybe sneak in to his office and just hold him there for a little while so I could just sort of absorb as much information as I can. I mean, I want to keep it relevant. So, and he kind of trails off. So he wants to go to the archivists and is hoping the same way that Kiri is lusting over the Lord Marcross, he's lusting over the idea of all the information being there.
Sajara Ratung?
I guess I'm wondering if we want to pay a visit to, what was it, Padishan Zakis?
Yeah.
This is sort of like an underworld kind of a guy that was looking for him? Did I pick up on that right? Well,
That is exactly the deal.
Hashan Zakis. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we could split into two pairs.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling like that might be
Split the
in my
party.
wheelhouse, might be somebody I knew about from my days growing up on the wrong side of town, you know?
Sure. So Ratung, who is going to go with you? Is that Sajara?
I will accompany Ratum.
So yeah, let's do those scenes kind of in parallel. Carrie, Zad, so what you will find out about Senelas as you kind of hit the street is he is more located in one of the buildings in sort of the central pillar, the central area, up towards the middle upper city, in one of the larger like offices for city government and that kind of thing. So it is kind of an official building. Do you want to try to get entrance to talk to him there, or do you want to try and maybe send a note and meet him outside of there?
I think maybe Zad's obviously super interested in rooting around in the paperwork. So maybe we go and try our luck at his office, whatever that might look like. And then because Kiri's very confident that she can distract or keep him busy chatting him up. So I think Zad, maybe we do a dual approach. You know, Kiri can just take the straight ahead, you know, hey, I know you were working with Bosch, you know, we're also working with Bosch, but you know, and just try to bribe him straight up while at the same time kind of keeping him occupied. And then you could kind of maybe try to slip in and satisfy your urges with all of the knowledge. So
this is one of the sort of hall of records. Some of it is devoted to like all of the tax documentation and receipts and all of that kind of thing, that is like kept and then magically compressed and stored away. And so there's a lot of that kind of, this is where people go when they want to appeal decisions and they have to go and get the records and things like that. So there are people here who have come here as a last resort, or essentially paperwork finders, people that's exactly what they do, is they go here, they know how to hunt down the records and things like that. The place where Senelas is at is sort of the higher end kind of city history and consultancy and things like that. And particularly, we'll find out that he is a specialist dealing with certain kinds of dragon marked history within the city. So there's some coin that the two of you have to pay to even kind of get in the door and then get up and get onto the level. And eventually this doorman that you've paid another set of coin to takes you down one of these dusty halls to a set of rooms and knocks and like I come in and we'll open, and it's all, you know, magical lighting in here, the kind of floating bulbs. There's no windows. It's shelves of scrolls and papers all around the three sides. There's just a big desk here. Senelas is behind the desk, and there are a couple of chairs, and he's got stacks of papers and maps and things like that. And he kind of looks up, and you clearly don't look like his usual client types. And he says, "Can I help you?"
So you most certainly can help us. So we work with Mr. Bosch, and we know that he had been down here getting some information from you.
And he pulls up his finger as if to say, "Please stop talking." And he leans a bit and he says, "Danson, you may go." And the doorman walks off, and he shuts the door, and he says, "I don't know exactly who you are speaking about, especially given that my researches and so on are directed and focused to serve the nobility and government apparatus of this city."
Oh, right. And she kind of lifts her hand up off the table, and there's a few coins there. Of course you do, but we have a problem because Mr. Bosch, like I said earlier, has misplaced the information that you gave him and sent us down here to get another copy of it. It's really kind of embarrassing. Actually, it might be my fault. I might have spilled something on it. And so maybe, and then she'll put a few more coins on there. Maybe you could help me out a little bit.
So this is deception, I think. I think there's this element of persuasion here, but I think deception.
Yep. I'm all for that. Cross your fingers, Ed. I'm a very, very dishonest person.
See him look and
with a heart of gold.
Yes. He leans forward and with a complete lack of subtlety drags the money over to his side of the desk. And he says, "It would take some time to pull together the papers that I had copied out for him. Which matter were you interested in? Was it the dragon marked or the Knights of Fire?"
Well, this is kind of embarrassing. It might be both. I'm very clumsy, and I spilled a lot.
He gestures to the empty space on the desk where the coins once were, as if to say, if only that space were filled with further coins.
And so she'll look back at Zad, and
so Zad says, well, I might have some information that you might find useful if you're so interested in dragon marks. Maybe we can trade. I got to say, we'd want to start with the dragon mark papers.
Well, how about I give you that, and then if you decide that you want the other, we can have a conversation about that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Nadira Refuse. That's the name.
Nadira Refuse.
Nadira Refuse. That's the name of the woman that has the dragon mark that he bought me the sketch of.
you are a lifesaver. If you are ever at, and I'm just going to make whatever our inn's name is, I will buy you a drink, and I probably won't spill it on you.
Well, it does sound like you were a little clumsy, but there we go.
He's Can Zad talk for just about 1 minute to this guy?
Yeah.
Zad's gonna say, so if you're working with Bosch, how much does House Thrash? I'm sorry, you're not working with Bosch.
I sometimes, as you can imagine, there are people that come to me that have consultations on certain matters that are outside of official channels. And for a small gratuity, I aim to answer questions that would not be seen as problematic.
I'm glad you clarified that. That's an important distinction. Does House Thrash ever come to you?
They are one of the important dragon marked houses, and they are often involved with questions of information and so on. And I can say that I have a strong, positive working relationship with the house. Yes. Says I, in fact, count Kava Velderon as a good client and perhaps even, dare I say it, a friend of mine.
Perfect. And Zad is gonna just try not to. I'm glad to know who glad to know you have such a good relationship with them. They're a very important group in Sharn. Zad is gonna try to back off.
Okay.
He's nervous.
All right. Kiri, what do you notice that Zad has gotten a little, like, was maybe coming in a little hotter and now has kind of backed off?
So
Did you wish the other information?
we got a fair bit of coin from our job, didn't we?
Yeah, I think though you're probably going to tap yourself out, but you can pay that and get that from him.
Yeah, she'll do it. So Kiri's been watching, and by the way, she whipped her thing out. She was starting to whittle while they were chatting because she was bored. And then as it stopped, she's looking at him, looking at Zad, looking at him. And then
Zad'll grab her hand and pay for it himself.
She'll drop it on there. And drop it on there, and and just say, she's like, all right, this should probably do it. Would you, since we're all now such good friends, do you think it'd be okay if my friend just looked around a little? He just loves this stuff so much. He's very good with the books and everything.
No.
A little look.
By no means am I going to allow that. I will give you the information you wish on the Knights of Fire, what Bosch came here for most recently, and we will consider our matter settled.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking was I might actually have some information that you'd find useful. And Zad is thinking about his 7 Arcana, his 7 History, and his Inspiration. That's all. I'm like, so he's kind of tempted to like try to pull out some information and be like, if you just gave me your notes, I could fill in the blank. Do you have something you're working on that you need help with?
Let's take a pause. We're going to come back to that scene in just a moment.
Yep.
Rotung, Sajara, you will know that Padashan Zakis works out of, as you might imagine, a club, a watering hole, and essentially a dance entertainment facility. And it is, of course, during the day, but through various means and connections that you have sort of at the street level, primarily here at Batung. You can, if you wish, get an audience with the Patron. What is the story that you are saying? What is the excuse that you are giving for this? How are you presenting yourselves? You wish to speak to the Patron? Why, Ratung?
I think I would just be fairly straightforward, and the story is we have an interest in a mutual person.
So you will go in, the Patron is there. What culture is the Patron from, Sojara? Are they human? Are they elven? Are they from Sharn? Are they changeling? What is the deal here with the Patron?
I want to make the Patron a hobgoblin.
Okay.
Who's like, isn't Eberron, doesn't Eberron have like some kind of like hobgoblin empire that fell or something like that?
That's where
So yeah,
Zad is kind of from some of the areas there.
Yeah. And so like Patron is the title he claims he would have had if the empire still ruled over all of, the continent like it should. So he's got like trappings of like a hobgoblin royal court all around.
It's decorated in that high hobgoblin imperial style. He's dressed very nicely, has the proud ears of the high-placed hobgoblin with brilliant piercings down them. The thing that offsets that is what is very clearly a hobgoblin toupee. He spent a lot of money clearly to make it look natural, but you're looking at it, you're like, that's not right. It's like a little bit of it's a kind of uncanny valley of hobgoblin hair pieces. And he's like, please to come in, sit. Ratung, is it?
Yes, yeah, you've heard of me.
Because the doorman brought me your name.
Of course.
Said that we have some issue of mutual interest. And who is this? Who's your lovely companion?
I'm Sojara Darba.
Sojara Darba. I think I've seen your clothes before. Are you of a mendicant?
I'm an acolyte of the acolyte of the Radiant Order.
The soup kitchen-y folks.
That is one of the services that we perform for the community. Yes.
Yes. So what can I do for this salt and pepper mixed match set that is here before me?
Far be it from me to suggest that I would have any information that would not have already reached such a impressive and significant personage as yourself. But, well, if I may be so impertinent as to suggest that I may have some knowledge of a Bashalak, a person that I understand concerns you.
Interesting. I am, you will excuse the expression, all ears.
I can see, yes.
Yes. If you tell me your information, I can certainly recompense you.
Right. And what better recompense for information than further information?
That's a possibility. I have but one question.
Yes.
Where is Bashalak?
That I do not know.
It's the information that we are trying to ascertain ourselves. We've been hired to locate him. I should assure you that whatever reason it is that you seek him for, unless it is to do him bodily harm, we needn't work at cross purposes. If there is some item he was seeking, if his target was a target of yours, we have no interest in that. And helping us locate him will, if indeed he was looking for someone that you were looking for as well, perhaps we could aid each other in that.
Bashalak. Pause here. I would like one of you to make a persuasion roll with advantage. There are two of you here, kind of playing two different kinds of cop, two different flavors. Who has the better persuasion amongst the two of you?
Mine's flat.
I have 2.
Okay,
Yeah,
Raton,
that's you, Raton. You're
roll-
the talker.
roll that with advantage.
All right, so 16.
Oh, good, because the first one was a 1. Kill them all.
Release the hounds.
I had a person in my employ who I considered very useful, and Bashalak absconded with them. And I would very much like to have that person return to my employ. That is the matter at hand. There's a certain matter of a contract and a certain kind of indentured nature to this person's employment, and they have left their, they have broken their contract, let us say. And just be clear, this is not a question of slavery or anything like that. It's a work contract, payments that were made to this person, and Bashalak has taken them.
Of course. It wouldn't perhaps have anything to do with this, and I'll reach into one of my pockets and probably pull out a few random scraps and then eventually pull one out, unfold it, and I'll hand him my little sketch of the dragon mark.
Ah, yes. You have it exactly. That is the dragon mark that is on my employee named Yabnavi. They're very skilled in certain things.
What is the nature of the dragon mark? It is, we recognize it as aberrant.
I am not going to say.
See why this is such a useful employee to you. Why do you think Bashalak would have such an interest in them?
I don't know. But when I find Bashalak, I intend to get that information from him. By any means necessary. If you catch my drift.
I
do
catch
not.
you.
We will employ force and strong persuasion and threats as are necessary.
So this is where we come to, let's come to the point. You might have resources that we could use to aid us in finding Bashalak. I think we've proven ourselves to be capable investigators. We've traced Bashalak to you. We've shown you the dragon mark.
There was mention made of a delve.
I have heard that Bashalak may have taken Yabnavi to follow on the trail of another expedition down somewhere into the cogs and below. But because I don't know what what was going on beyond that, I have lost the trail on that end of things.
There are only so many entrances to the cogs. There are only so many willing to supply those who journey down there.
That
Perhaps you could make an introduction for us. I presume. Does it like? So let me ask you: does that talk about an expedition? Did that like? I'm not sure. I understood whether like that was new information to him or not.
Yeah, no, he had heard that there was a delta.
Got it. Okay.
He says that is a little outside my area of expertise, which is why I've hit something of a stop. But I will tell you what, it seems that you are looking for Bashalak. I will tell you that whatever you are being paid, I will double it if when you find Bashalak, you bring him to me, and triple it if you bring him and Yabnavi to me. I will let you consider that. I would not wish you to commit to something right now, but perhaps I put a bee in your headdress.
I just kind of give Rat Tongue a little side eye.
I think I give a little grin and a thumbs up, like
Good. Well, then this has been a profitable meeting for the two of us. Three of us, now that I count. 1, 2, 3. Yes, 3. Would either of you like something to drink before you head out?
tea, if you have it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even in these tight times, I can provide a nice cup of tea. And you, Darba, was it?
I will abstain, but thank you for your hospitality.
Yes. And a high quality gunpowder mint tea is brought to you, Ratung, and put there with a generous supply of honey with it.
I had you marked for a good host from the start, Padishah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I hope this works out, and I hope that you do as I ask.
Yeah, we'll take our leave, I think.
There's an implied do as I ask, or the or just kind of hangs in the air as you head out. Kiri, Zad, Senelas will say, so, do you know what the Knights of Fire are? Probably not. How long have you been in the city?
Kiri has not been in long.
Yeah. And
Few
you?
years. Few years.
During the war, Sharn escaped much of the devastation that affected the rest of the continent. It was involved in the war, but it was behind the lines and away from mainline attacks. Primarily, Sharn had to deal with saboteurs, infiltrators, that kind of thing. There was one exception. During the war, just in that last year, there was a desperate attack made on Sharn. Flying carpets, dragon riders, all sorts came in a great wave over the city, and they dropped spells. Massive, complex spell bombs. And some of them did great damage. Fires broke out. There was devastation around and about. But they had not calculated with Sharn's affinity with magic and flight and levitation. And so many of the bombs didn't activate, didn't go off. But they did fall through to the cogs. There is supposedly a cache of unexploded, high value spells and spell bombs that lie in one particular area of the cogs. And that is what Bashalak wanted to know about, and he wanted to know about the expedition that was secretly going down to extricate these on the quiet.
Where is this?
I will tell you who the expedition leader is, and I think you can do your legwork from there. Does that seem fair?
Sure.
The leader of the expedition is a man named Viper Novos. He is a radical from Zil, an arcanist who was, how do I put this, kicked out. Bashalak wanted to know about this man, and my sense was that he was both interested in what the expedition might find, but that from what I understand, Nodera Refuse, the one who bore this dragon mark, was on the expedition.
So the expedition already occurred?
As I understand it, they headed down less than a week ago.
I apologize for my confusion. How could Nadira Refuse have been on the expedition? Oh, Bashalak knows that Nadira Refuse was on the expedition and is
Yes.
going to look for, I see.
Yes, I don't know why he wants this dragon mark bearer, but that's what he was searching for, and the whole unexploded spell thing seems to have caught his interest as well. There's a great deal of money potentially to be made there.
Just a quick sidebar. Do I know if I have a drawing of a dragon mark? Well, I guess it'll probably be a roll with my finding skills if I'm able to actually try to find the holder of a dragon mark. I'm sorry, I know I have locate animals and plants, and I have locate object, so I would assume I don't actually have that.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. So with all due respect, Sonalas,
Yes.
Bosch, you're an archivist. Bosch came to you to ask you about a person rather than the actual underground maps of the cogs.
He came to ask me about the Knights of Fire. He had heard about this expedition. I gave him more details, and I pointed him finally in the direction of Viper, who I, through various things, had found out was heading down on this expedition. I can perhaps provide you with a map.
Kiri
Yeah,
looks
so-
at, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so Zad will give him some coins.
I will sketch out what I know of the route they would have had to have taken. And then will our business set an end, do you think?
Yes, I would love to come talk to you at some point in the future. I have some information I think you'll find useful, but this is pressing at the moment.
Fair enough, fair enough. And he will reach in and he will pull out what is clearly a copy of a map he probably gave to Bosch that he has made, and he will slide it across to you. Does that conclude our deal? Then was it Kiri, was it?
Yeah, so Kiri's again been whittling away, and she looks at it and she pops it down on his desk, and she says, "Bunny," and then says, "We're done," and she just walks out the door.
Okay, and he'll pick it up and kind of look at that. And I think that is probably where we're going to stop tonight. Does that seem fair? with
It
that
does. Can I ask an
information?
out of
Yeah,
character question real quick?
absolutely.
When you said Knights of Fire, you were talking about nighttime of
Yes,
fire, not.
correct.
So the whole time I was, when you first.
Oh
said that, I
yeah.
was
No,
like,
and when I said it, I
of
realized that
fire.
that would be confusing there. Yeah.
And so out of character, there are actually two different people with this aberrant mark.
That is what has seemed to be the case, which is something that should not occur.
One of them's on the expedition, and one of them, Bashalak, came and took away from the hobgoblin
Yep,
to go after them. Okay,
that is exactly the case. You have it. You have the have it down to a T.
cool. Interesting.
One person with a unique mark is an aberrant dragon mark.
Mhm.
Two people with the same unique mark is a new dragon mark house.
Yes.
Dun,
That's-
dun,
Yeah.
dun.
There's a huge difference between those two things. So this is like a major big ass hairy deal
So,
here.
it's-
So, yeah.
so technically, it's no longer an aberrant mark.
If
At that
in
point.
fact
If
it's
it
true,
is true.
and we're not just chasing rumors. So yeah.
So that's where we're going to stop. And we will let's do a stars and wishes here at the end. We'll probably do a milestone level up at the end of next session, just to tell you that, just to kind of give us a sense of where things are going. Is everyone okay with doing a quick stars wishes? Okay. Let's start with Sojara.
Yeah, this was really fun. I apologize. I'm like
Right at the
really
end, I know.
fading at this point.
I know. That's
because
why I
I
went
had
with
my
first.
like I think a couple of you didn't hear. I had my COVID booster this morning, so I'm kind of like just starting. It's really starting to kick in on me. But this was super fun. Joe, stars for it's a horse, it's a bunny, it's a like I'm waiting to see all the like that's just such a great little trope. It's like a thing that would like we'd see on a TV show. Like if you're a character on a TV show like that, that's like doing that kind of thing. Tim, stars to you completely in your element with the hobgoblin like crime boss there, and like basically I'm just kind of there as your bodyguard, and you're like, oh yes, and tea would be lovely, and all that kind of stuff and everything. That was a lot of fun. And I'm like, I'm not gonna drink anything this guy serves us. Are you crazy? And I'm like, kind of like we should just go, but you're like, no. And that was a lot of fun. And Chris, I'm enjoying the way that like you are like leaning really into kind of like the noir with like you're like our character that's like deep into the lore and like wanting to find out more about what's going on, and you've got the complicated backstory and all that kind of stuff, and seeing that play out, like you're doing a really good job of like weaving it in and having it be a thing without having it like derail our thing that we're working on. And that's really neat to see it. That it's fun to watch that happening. And as far as wishes go, I didn't get to kick anybody in the head this time, so
Okay.
looking forward
Kick
to that next time.
In the head. Okay.
Kick in head. Yep. And wow, I want to see the cogs. I'm so excited that we're going to have a dive down into the cogs. That's like that's one of the cool things about I always loved about Eberron and Sharn in particular, is that it's this like massive cosmopolitan city, but it sits on top of actually a pretty wicked cool mega dungeon.
Yeah.
So like I think that's great. And I'm really thrilled that you're just diving us right down there, Lowell.
Awesome. Zad.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Jim. Just super fun, Joe. And that you were willing to play the distractor guy while we went in there. Lowell, the it's funny you mentioned that, you know, you didn't have the maps, but it felt like you had a lot of, and I mean, I didn't even care about that. I just was, it was a funny throwaway comment that you made, but you had a lot of things that were weaved together, and it was fun to try to think. I mean, Joe, that was cool. That you also nailed it with the two dragon marks, because I was a little distracted by something going on here, but at the same time, I also, you know, on the personal side, was distracted, but I was also like, wait, something's off with the dragon mark, and then you pieced it together. I was like, thank you. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, Tim, I felt like you came into your element a little bit more. I wasn't sure how quiet Ratong was going to be, and it was cool to see like he's this quiet, nervous guy, and then he turns on the smile. And Jim, your focus as the monk, there was a moment, it was so good that there was a moment where I was like, wait, is Jim gotten really serious, or is that his character? Anyway,
Probably not.
yeah, exactly. It was really fun. I can't think of any wishes at the moment. It's
Okay.
been fun. Thanks.
Awesome. Kiri?
Yeah, no, I thought again, a lot of fun, really a lot of fun. And I just, you know, everybody's characters, our crew is just like, you said it earlier, Lowell, the TV show, right? Like I think I like how we have inadvertently maybe or organically drifted into like all of the right sort of a little bit tropey, but all of these unique people together solving things and the different things like that. So this is I'm just having this is really good, everybody. I just think everybody's I think it's I'm just having a blast. This makes my Monday, right? You know, Mondays suck, but then we have this, right? And so for wishes, I think it would be fun to drop somebody's backstory, a little like bull in a china shop, or a little into this, you know. Zad's got some stuff going on that he's trying to figure out, and it might be kind of fun to drop something like that in to as a sort of a what sort of in there a little bit. So.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. It's an interesting idea. You know, is that the twist challenge there to complicate things. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and kicking somebody in the head, I would be for that too.
Absolutely. And Ratong.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. Lowell, I mean, obviously the way that you kind of had all those strands for us to weave together. I think the cool thing is that, like, at least for me, and I imagine for the rest of us, like, you know, I kind of followed my character's lead, and probably can't see it, but because it's not a face. Taking just pages of scrawling notes, and then I have like lines connecting and stuff, and it's like the strands that you put out there, and like the slow, like the release of the information, it makes us all feel really smart, right? Like, because then we get to put it together, but it's really your skillfulness, I think, in having it there and knowing how to spool it out that lets us feel that way. So thank you for that. That's really awesome. Also, I want to just call attention to the scene between Sajara Darba and Norrell. That was a short scene, but like it totally, like, honestly, it seemed like you guys could have rehearsed it. The way like that, the tension was palpable, and it was like so awkward. It was perfect just for like an impromptu scene. It was amazing how much that came through. So great job, guys. And Joe and Chris, I just as being able to, like, with the cool thing about when we split up is just being able to watch your scene with Senelas and not have to be thinking about, okay, how, like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do to help this along? I could just literally just being able to sit back and just listen to how you guys were handling it and just enjoy that scene. I thought that was cool and kind of a real benefit to us being able to have a scene like that where we're split up, because then I could just really watch and just enjoy how you guys were approaching it. And so that was a lot of fun. And for me, the wish is, I think a couple of people mentioned it, but I don't know much about the Eberron setting, but the cogs, certainly it seems like a dungeon delve. That sounds really, really fun. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. I had a great time tonight. I will say it is a pleasure when the players are following up on leads and asking smart questions and putting the pieces that I throw out there together. That I love that when the table does that. That is so satisfying, and it was super cool to see everybody do that tonight. So I had a great time. I am going to stop the recording.